There is a couch in Detroit that decided who inherited $80 million. Aretha Franklin's final will was found under the cushions, handwritten, scribbled in a spiral notebook, signed with the letter A and a smiley face. It took a jury 5 years to decide whether it counted. She had money. She had lawyers. She still ended up there. And right now, in 2026, 56% of American adults have nothing in writing at all. So let's talk about what a living trust actually does, because almost nobody explains this part properly. Start with the life of an asset. Everything you own has a name on it. The house has a name on it. The bank account, the brokerage account, the truck in the driveway, the rental across town. When you stop existing, that name has to change, and somebody has to authorize that change. That's it. That's the whole problem. There are exactly 3 ways it gets solved, and 2 of them happen inside a courtroom. Road 1 is doing nothing. Lawyers call it intestate. You didn't write anything down, so the state writes it for you. Your state statute decides who your family is, in what order, and how much each one gets. Prince died in 2016 with no will at all, and his heirs fought for 6 years before reaching a settlement on a $156 million estate. 6 years. And here's the thing that gets me. Prince spent his entire adult life protecting his privacy, and the last chapter of his financial life got read out loud in open court. And every charity he quietly supported while he was alive got nothing, because a state statute doesn't know what you cared about. It only knows bloodlines. Road 2 is the one your lawyer probably recommended. The good old-fashioned will. And I need you to hear this clearly, because it is the single most expensive misunderstanding in American estate planning. A will does not avoid probate. A will is an instruction manual for the probate judge. It's a grease slide right into the courthouse. You still open the case. You still notify every creditor. You still notify every potential beneficiary. And then everybody sits in a room and finds out exactly what mom had. Want to know what that costs? Probate runs about 3 to 7% of the estate. On a $750,000 estate, that's $22,500 to $52,000. Gone. In California, it isn't even a negotiation. It's a statute. 4% of the first 100,000, 3% of the next 100, 2% after that. On a $1 million estate, that's $23,000 to the attorney, and typically the same amount again to the personal representative. $46,000 to change a name on a piece of paper. And it's slow. The average probate in this country runs about 20 months. Only 2% of Americans knew that. Most people think it costs $1,000 and takes a couple of months. Aretha Franklin's estate had already been billed $586,000 in legal fees before the trial even happened. Now, you're thinking, I'm not Aretha Franklin. Right. You're also not going to have a music catalog to absorb the damage and understand what's actually happening inside that process, because the money is only half of it. Probate opens a window for every creditor to file a claim. It opens a window for every potential heir to object. It puts a public price tag on everything your family owns, and then it invites people to argue about it in front of a stranger in a robe. I have watched siblings who genuinely loved each other stop speaking over a set of dishes. Not the house, the dishes. Grief and money and lawyers in the same room is the most flammable combination I know of. So here's road 3, the living trust. And a trust is really just 3 jobs. There's the person who puts the assets in. There's the person who manages them. And there are the people who benefit. During your lifetime, that's you, and you. You can change it whenever you want. Refinance the house, sell the house, spend the money, tear the whole thing up. Nothing is locked. Nothing is surrendered. You did not give anything away. But watch what happens when something goes wrong while you're still here. Because this is the benefit nobody puts in the brochure. Say you have a stroke. Say it's dementia. My dad had Alzheimer's, so this one is not theoretical for me. If everything is in your individual name, somebody now has to go ask a judge for permission to pay your bills. That's guardianship. And about 1.3 million American adults are living under guardianship or conservatorship right now, with roughly $50 billion in assets sitting under court supervision. The average case runs more than 4 years. With a trust, your successor trustee brings the certification and the doctor's letter and just starts handling it. No hearing, no stranger, no judge. Then there's privacy. Probate is a public filing. Anybody can walk in or click in and read what you had and who got it. A trust is a private document that sits in your filing cabinet. And if you own property in more than one state, that matters even more, because a will means opening a separate proceeding in every single state where you own dirt. My family lived that one. A funded trust handles all of it in one place. But here's what I actually think is the best part, and it's the part people never get told. A will can only say who. A trust can say how. Hold it until they're 30. Match whatever they earn. Pay for tuition directly to the school. Protect the child who's going through a divorce from losing it. Protect the child with the substance issue from getting a check they can't survive. Protect the child with creditors from handing it straight to a collection agency. And if you want to say the money's there for health, education, maintenance, and support, but not for a Lamborghini, you can write exactly that. It's your money. You get to put your intent behind it. And it does not have to stop with your kids. You can write a trust that keeps going, one that pays a grandchild's tuition 30 years from now, one that funds the mission trip, one that says every beneficiary who wants to see the world gets 2 weeks abroad on me because I think seeing the world changes people. That is not a rich person's document. That's just intent, written down while you still have the pen in your hand. A will hands out property. A trust hands down values. There's a tax piece too, and it's enormous. Assets that pass at your death get a stepped up basis. If you bought the house for $200,000 and it's worth $1.2 million, your kids inherit it at today's value and can sell it with essentially no gain. Gift it to them while you're alive, and they inherit your old basis instead. Same house, same kids. $1 million of built-in gain that didn't have to exist. That is not a small mistake. That's a $200,000 mistake, and people make it every single day trying to be helpful. Now let me be straight with you, because I'm not selling you anything here. A living trust is not for everyone. The California Attorney General's office says exactly that. And they also warn about something called living trust mills. These are operations that solicit seniors at churches and assisted living centers with a free dinner and a scary seminar, and then use the trust as a doorway to sell annuities and products those people did not need. Real warning, real lawsuits, real money taken. Be careful of anyone who tells you every single person needs the identical document. An irrevocable trust does not do everything. It does not protect your assets from your own creditors while you're alive, because you can revoke it. You still control it, so they can still reach it. It does not qualify you for Medicaid. It does not, by itself, save you estate tax. As of 2026, the federal exemption sits at $15 million per person, $30 million for a married couple, and it's permanent now. So for the overwhelming majority of families watching this, estate planning was never about the federal estate tax. It's about the people. It always was. Which brings me to the biggest failure of all, and it's the one that breaks my heart. Because these people did the right thing and still lost. The unfunded trust. You paid for the document. It's beautiful. It's in a leather binder on the shelf. And the deed was never changed. The brokerage account was never retitled. So at death, those assets are still in your individual name, and they go through probate anyway. You bought the protection and never turned it on. In California, skipping a deed recording that costs about $103 can generate roughly $46,000 in statutory fees. A trust that owns nothing does nothing. So do the boring part. Change the deed. Retitle the accounts. Check the beneficiary designations on the retirement accounts and the life insurance. Add the durable power of attorney, the healthcare directive, the HIPAA authorization, and the guardian nomination for your minor kids. Deal with the digital stuff too. 48% of Americans have no instructions at all for their online accounts. Deal with the pets, because 68% of you already believe they belong in the plan. Then review the whole thing every 3 to 5 years, and after anything big happens. The median attorney-drafted living trust in 2026 runs about $2,400. Compare that to $22,000 to $52,000 in probate on a mid-sized estate, plus 20 months, plus the part you can't price. Your kids sitting across a conference table from each other with lawyers in the room. And understand the scale of what's coming. About $124 trillion is projected to change hands in this country through 2048. Most of it will move through ordinary families who never had this conversation once. And if you're sitting there right now thinking this is for people with more than you've got, that's the objection I hear more than any other. And it is the one that costs the most. 62% of Gen X has nothing in place. 42% of Americans say they would not know what to do if a family member died today. And that climbs to 56% among people with no documents at all. If money is the barrier, understand that the asset can be your life. You can buy a policy and point it straight into the trust. Everybody has something. Everybody has somebody. Here's what I want you to take from this. 56% of adults have nothing. 27% of people say the reason is that they don't think they have enough to bother. That is the most expensive sentence in this entire subject. Because you don't need a fortune to need a plan. You need a person you care about. And something with your name on it. That's the whole qualification. Aretha Franklin was not careless. She was busy. She was going to get to it. And her last wishes ended up under a couch cushion, argued over by her own children in a public courtroom for 5 years. Nobody plans that. Everybody who ends up there was just planning to handle it later. Don't leave your family a scavenger hunt. Leave them instructions. So share this with the person you just thought of while you were watching. You know exactly who it is. And subscribe to the channel and like the video. There's a lot more coming.